here is a security vulnerability that exists even though your code looks completely fine. So if you just look at this code, what it is doing, so we have a login function. So the first thing that it does is that it checks if the user is present in the database using the email, and if the user does not exist, then it immediately return with this error message. Okay, and if the user is exist, then it fetch the password from the database and it compares the hash between the user entered password and the server stored password. Okay, and if the password matches, then it allows the user to log in, and if the password doesn't match, then it returns the same validation message. So this code looks completely fine, but there is an issue with this code. So if you just run this code, you can see this code has two paths. Okay, so one is that the user email doesn't exist and another is the user email exists. So in both the cases we are returning the same validation message, but the difference is that if the email doesn't exist, then the response time is much faster, which is around 30 milliseconds. But if the user does exist but the password is incorrect, then also we are sending the same error message, but the response time is much larger, around 200 milliseconds. So this might look harmless, but there is a critical issue. It's because since these two response times are different, so hacker can actually observe the behavior of your application. So why this information can be useful for the hacker is that suppose the hacker has got bunch of email address from the latest security breach. Now hacker is trying to log in from those emails. So hacker is seeing that for both the emails that they are entering, the invalid credential, the message is same, but for one type of email it is saying that the response time is much faster, but another type of email he is saying that the response time is much slower. So what he can conclude is that, so since the response time is faster, so that means those email doesn't exist, but wherever the response time is much slower, he can predict that those emails are present in those accounts are present, but the password is mismatched. So this way hacker can actually get an idea like which accounts are present and which accounts are not present. By studying this timing behavior, hacker can plan attack. So now to fix this problem, one thing we can do is that, so whenever the user is exist and password, we are checking the hash of the password, then it is going through this range, and whenever user is entering such email which doesn't exist, so for that also we want to do a fake password hash, so that also takes the similar kind of response time, right? So even if the user has entered such email which doesn't exist, the account doesn't exist, still we will do a fake password hash that will simulate fake time delay, and that will basically run through the big crypt compare, and that is time taking. So eventually for both of these cases we'll send the same error message, and most importantly the response time will be pretty much similar. So since the response time is much more similar, so hacker will have a hard time to determine if which accounts are actually there in the database and which accounts are not there. So using this you can make things harder for the hacker to know like which accounts are actually present and which accounts are not present. So the bottom line is that as a developer we focus on the functionality, but the attackers focus on the observability of your application as well. So if your system starts to behave differently, it reveals some critical information, and hacker can observe those patterns, and hacker can predict vulnerabilities in your system, and then the hacker can plan the attacks accordingly. Okay, and this information, this observability information is very crucial for hackers, and this is often the first step of an attack. So I hope this video was useful. Let me know what you think on this one, and as always, thanks for watching.